All right, so again, my name is Benjamin Stewart. I'm the academic advisor, senior academic advisor for the allied health majors here at Kingsborough. So that encompasses the nursing program and a couple other programs such as surgical tech, polytomograph technology, EMS, even a couple of the other non-allied health majors, well, non-allied health AAS majors like community health and exercise science and things of that nature. So these are other options outside of nursing, but I know most of you all are here to talk about the nursing program. And so we're gonna get into that and move forward. So I wanna thank you all for coming and giving some of your time to kind of learn about this program. What I'm gonna do today is really just talk to you guys about some of the more finer parts about the program, especially the process of the program. So a multitude of you I probably have spoken to, or you've spoken to some advisor in capacity and about getting into the nursing. I just want to kind of go through a lot of the intricacies of the program and give you guys some of the real deal talk. I guess you can't look around in here, but all the students that are in here today, they're not just your colleagues and your students who are going to school with you. They're also your competition. I don't want you to think that you have to be cutthroat, but the nursing program is very competitive, as we all know, and it is one of the more challenging majors that we have here on campus. It doesn't mean that you don't have a chance, you don't stand a chance of becoming a nurse ever along the lines, but it is a program where they do take the top candidates each semester. So the good news is we do intake every semester. So if you don't get in this semester or whatever semester you're applying, you do still have a chance to get in the following semesters. It just depends on how far along the process you are and whether or not it makes sense for you to maybe go ahead and graduate from us and go into something different, or to truly stick it out here. So just keep in mind that you do have to do some work in order to get into this program. And it is a very challenging program once you're into. So just because you get into the program doesn't program. So there are, and I'm sure you may have heard this in passing, or maybe just by speaking to an advisor. There is the preclinical phase, which the majority of people probably at this meeting today are in or will be starting. The other phase is the clinical phase, and that is the phase in which you are actually already in the program and you're starting your first nursing classes, doing your clinicals. So these two phases are very different, and they both have an application. So when you're making sure you're filling out your application, make sure you're filling out the right application for the right phase of the program you're going into. This is a full-time, daytime program. Well, let me not say full-time, but it is a daytime program, and it feels full-time because of the amount of work that you're going to be doing and what may be required of you. So if you are planning to go into this program and you know for a fact you want to do it at Kingsborough and you're going to do it at Kingsborough no matter what, keep in mind that all of the classes are during the day. So that's your lectures, your labs, and anything else that you might have to take alongside. The majority of those classes are in the daytime. This can include your clinicals. So when you get in the program, you have to do something called a clinical. This is where you actually go into the facilities based on the subject matter of the class that you're taking. So if it's peds, where you're going in and dealing with pediatric nursing and children, they will send you to a center or schedule you virtually for a center that requires you to be there during the day or whatever time they have available for you to be there. Now, sometimes if a student is really in need or space for a student, they will do evening clinicals, but that is not guaranteed. A lot of the times that only happens if the clinical will allow it. Given COVID and all the new precautions, generally everything has been during the day. And if you're in person, you do have to be vaccinated. You do have to follow and adhere to all the rules of the facilities that you're going into. And if you're going to be a nurse, chances are you're probably going to run into this situation a little bit down the road. Just a reminder, if you are on this call, make sure you keep your mic muted until we have our questions section. If you have any questions throughout the presentation as well, you can put them in the chat so that we can look at them later on as well. All right, so lectures, labs, and clinicals, I just went through that. So the lectures, obviously, those are your normal classroom hours. We have been doing what's called hybrid, but a lot of the times, some of these classes, like the Science 25 class, which is a preclinical class, may be offered, the lectures and the lab may be offered as asynchronous, which means it's online and there are no specific times where you are actually attending the class, but you would have to make sure you log in, read the information for your class, and as the professor dictates. The majority of the lectures, though, have been synchronous, and I believe this coming semester, Science 25 is going to be offered in person. Majority is going to be in person, along with the labs that are going to be in person. If you are not, again, if you are not vaccinated, you definitely need to get vaccinated in order to attend these classes on campus. You cannot get on campus without a vaccination. And if I'm not sure if they're allowing exemptions, but you definitely want to reach out to the coordinator who is dealing with the COVID precautions here on campus to find out what you need to do in order to make sure you come to campus and can attend your classes. The rest of the courses for your when you're in the nursing program, and this is talking about the clinical phase now, those classes are definitely going to be hybrid. So some of the courses will not say hybrid, but they'll just be regular nursing courses. The nursing program generally likes to meet with their students in person at least once a week, and then the rest of your work is done on the Blackboard, which is through your CUNY portal, or not CUNY portal, your CUNY First Student Service Center. So make sure that you are well versed when it comes to doing work through your Blackboard, because you are going to utilize that a lot when you're in the program. Not that you're not utilizing it a lot right now, given that we are distance learning. But even if we start going back to campus with the majority of classes being in person, the nursing program still does hybrid courses no matter what, because a lot of the work that you're going to have to do will require you to travel. And it's a lot easier to travel if you know you don't have to come to school, to campus all the time, and then go to the facilities that you're going to go to. Once you're in the program, you'll understand that a little bit more. It's a 2-year program once you begin the clinical phase. A lot of students come into the school and they assume that because it's a 2-year degree, it's going to take them 2 years right off the bat. The truth of the matter is, it could take you a year to a year and a half, depending on what classes you still need to take in order to get into the prerequisites and then get into the clinical program. But if you come in at a level where you can absolutely start taking your first year English, or your English, and your anatomy and physiology, along with your psychology 11, those 3 classes, you can take those in the first time that you're here. It should take you 3 years to get through the program if everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. Now, this is again, this only matters if you have gotten past your preclinical prerequisites. So if you haven't been able to take those classes yet, you're going to be here a little bit longer than everyone else. Once you found out that you got into the clinical phase of the program, from that point, from the first time you're taking your first nursing class, clinical class, it is 2 years exactly. You'll go through and you'll know exactly what classes you take each semester because they're laid out for you. So you don't have to do the guesswork. You just need to pass your classes at that point. Now, it is our job as advisors to make sure that you understand which classes to take along with those nursing classes if you need them. And then we try to help you through the program academically, but most of the questions you deal with when it comes to nursing classes will be handled in the nursing department, because the nursing department are the people who actually give you permission to move on to the next level of nursing courses. So again, this is after you become a student in the nursing program and in the clinical phase. So keep that in mind. About planning ahead and saying, you know, I need to know what class I need to take for the nursing program in this semester, that semester. It doesn't work like that. We can tell you what classes you would take, but once we don't know what classes, we can't really tell you what classes to take if you're not already in the clinical phase of the program. That's going to come from the actual program once you're in it. We can suggest classes, and we can kind of, we can maybe predict the classes, but there's no guarantee you'll take those classes. So keep that in mind. So interest requirement, the preclinical phase versus the clinical phase. So the preclinical phase is the point in which an applicant is taking prerequisite courses to qualify for the clinical nursing program.
No, I'm on my phone.
Yes, so if you can't see the presentation, we are recording it, and we'll have the, you know, I'll have this presentation available. If you want me to email it to me, you can simply send me an email and I'll get it to you, no problem. Okay. All right. So the preclinical courses, which is what I was talking about earlier, these are the courses. The courses in yellow are your first 3 prerequisites for this class, Science 25. So English 12, which is your freshman composition 1, Psychology 11, which is your general psychology 1, and Bio 1100, which is your anatomy, your human anatomy and physiology 1, are the first 3 classes that you must be able to take and complete before you move into that true preclinical phase. So I know it sounds weird, but the preclinical phase encompasses all your prerequisites, the 3 classes that you need for the actual preclinical class. So everything in that phase is called preclinical. A lot of students get confused because they come in here and they sign up for, you know, they say I applied to Kingsborough as a nursing student and they put me in liberal arts. Liberal arts is the general education requirement for most of the degrees here, but liberal arts itself is a major, and that major helps students complete certain courses while still maintaining financial aid eligibility. So when you're in liberal arts, don't think that you're not a nursing student or you're not going into nursing. That's just the best major for you to be in at the time before you get into nursing. Now, some people choose the bio major, bio-allied health. However, if you get financial aid, it's a little bit more difficult to maintain your financial aid when you're in a major that's so specific that it requires you to take certain classes. In the bio major, you would take the bio class, you would take the English class. You don't necessarily have to take the psychology class. So that could cause you to not get your financial aid depending on how many classes you already have. So when you're meeting with your advisor, don't be upset if you're not listed as a nursing major. Listed as a liberal arts major, that's perfectly fine. In fact, that's encouraged. It does help you get into the nursing major. And you also get designated as an allied health liberal arts, which means they try to pair you with one of the advisors in my area. George on here is on here. He's one of the advisors that you may be paired with. We have several advisors here who are all well-versed in getting students on the right path to get into the preclinical program and the clinical program. So do not worry about that. But your most important information to take away from this particular segment is those first 3 classes: English 1200, Psych 1100, and Bio 1100. Those 3 classes you absolutely want to do good on. You want to get good grades on that one, because this is what determines what's called your nursing index. And I'll probably get into it a little bit more, but your nursing index is, consider that your nursing GPA. This is what the department will use to start building your profile to see if you're competitive enough to get into the program. Then during the time that you're taking these 3 classes, along with some other classes if you need to be full-time, but these 3 classes obviously are the most important, you'll be doing your preclinical application. And your preclinical application is online now, and you'll be the way that you'll fill it out is you have to go to the nursing webpage, and I'll show you that later in the slide as well. And you fill out that application. It goes to me or George. We review it, and then we send it to the nursing department. Once we send it to the nursing department, it is out of our hands, so we don't have any insight on that, whether or not they're going to accept you or not. That information.
Wireless color.
Oh, please don't forget to mute. Yeah. That information will come down from the nursing department directly to the student, given the email that you provide, or from the registrar's office. They send out a letter, so most likely it'll be an email that you receive. Once you get the email, whether or not you're in or are not in, that should determine what you do next. So if you're in, they're giving you permission to take Science 25. A lot of the times, students don't know when this information will come down. Generally, because they're waiting for grades, it usually comes down after the semester is completed. So don't get nervous. Don't get nervous when you're not hearing back from the department after you submitted your application and it's been a couple of weeks. They generally don't get back to you until after the semester is complete, because they're waiting for all your grades to come down and they're waiting to weight everything. So the good news is anybody who applies who wants to take Science 25, who's going to get into the program, you don't have to worry about not getting a seat, because only students who are accepted to the preclinical phase will be able to register for Science 25. So that is a little bit of the good news. You must achieve a grade of B in at least one of the science lab courses. Now, take this with a grain of salt. A B is a great grade. A C is not a terrible grade, but a B it will definitely help boost your chances of getting to the program. And A is the very best that you want to get. I'm going to be real with every single one of you. If you get a B and up, you're good candidates. If you get a C, you make it a lot tougher for yourself, because that C can really be the difference between you and the person next to you getting into the program. Let's say you get an A in psychology, a B in English 12, and you end up with a C in bio 11. That means that you could possibly get into the preclinical. That's probably not going to stop you from getting into the preclinical, but now you absolutely have to get a B or higher in Science 25. And let's say you even get that B. If the person next to you gets a B in English 12, a B in psychology 11, a B in biology, and an A in Science 25, that person sits higher on a rung than you to get into your clinical phase, because now their nursing GPA or their nursing index is higher than yours. So the only chance you would have to beat out that person is if that person on the next phase doesn't complete the next phase adequately enough and you get that spot. And that's never a guarantee, so keep that in mind. So again, you want to get B in at least one science lab course, but to be honest, you want to achieve B's and higher in everything that you get. Now, some of you may not have a B, you might have gotten a C already. That doesn't mean that you're out of the running. It just means that you have a little bit steeper hill to climb in order to get into the program. So just keep that in mind again. Grades of a C- or lower are equal to a failing grade in the nursing program. So even before you get into the nursing program, if you get a C grade in any of these classes, you're already having a hard time. If you get a C-, you're not going to be able to get into the program. And that is, I also say that with a grain of salt, because they're going to see that C- grade as a failing grade. You're going to have to go through a few different, I guess you have to go through a few different, if you want to remain eligible. So you'd have to repeat that course, and you'd have to get a grade in that course, which would equal out to be at least a C with the grade that you took. So for instance, you might get below a C- in, let's say, Psych 11. You might fail Psych 11. You have to retake that course, and you have to get an A in that course for the A and the F to merge together and be counted as at least a grade of C. So if you understand what I'm saying, then that's what I mean by average out to be a grade of C. And that means for everything that you've done, And then again, you also have to do an appeals letter. And that appeals letter can be the difference between the nursing program saying, well, I don't think that you should be in the nursing program, or, I understand what happened. This can affect everybody, so we'll give you a second chance. So there is a chance that you can still get into the program, but you're really going to have to prove yourself after that point. And that, again, is not a very easy task. So in order to qualify for Science 25, applicants must complete the first 3 prereqs. I just spoke to you about that, and submit the preclinical application to the nursing department for permission to enroll. So that was pretty straightforward. And if you have questions about that later, we'll go over that as well. The minimum GPA is now a 2.8 in order to get into the program. So this is the overall GPA and the nursing GPA that they're looking for. You must have at least a 2.8 to qualify. We all know a 2.8 is not a bad GPA, but it is not the most competitive GPA you can have to get into the program. So keep that in mind. If you're really wanting to compete to get in the program, you want to make sure your GPA stays in the 3s, at least your nursing GPA with these first 4 classes. You want to keep those in the C range. And the reason you want to do that, not the C range, excuse me, the 3.3, 3.4 and above range. Since the pandemic, it has been harder and harder for students to get into the program because of much more obstacles to choose to kind of navigate through. The latest, let me give you an idea. So the latest number of students who were able to get into the program this fall from applicants from last spring and over the summer, the lowest GPA was about a 3.5. And that means any student who had a 3.5 and above were automatically candidates to move forward into the program. Out of those students who had a 3.5 in that particular group, there may have been 150 of those students. The nursing program only has 80 seats. So 80 of those students made it into the program and the rest of those students didn't, even though they had a 3.5. Now, some of those students may not have passed the TEAS exam. Some of those students may have decided to go somewhere else or change their mind about the nursing program. And then the students who had below a 3.5 may have been great candidates, may have still taken the TEAS exam, but because of their GPA, their TEAS scores weren't looked at. So you have to make sure, again, you have to make sure your GPA is in a competitive range in order to really get into the program. So make sure that whatever you're doing now, let's see. All right, applicants will apply for the clinical phase while they're taking the Science 25. So again, when you're taking Science 25, you're going to actually do another application found at the nursing webpage so that you can move forward, sign up for the TEAS exam, and then do the TEAS exam, and then you'll find out whether or not you actually got into the clinical phase after all of that is done. All right, so now the clinical phase. For everybody that makes it into the clinical phase at this point, you are pretty much a nursing student. And that means, and I say pretty much because you still have to make it through all the nursing classes. So you're a nursing student until you actually are a nurse, so keep that in mind. So the clinical phase, this is the point in which the applicant is officially accepted into the nursing program and begins taking classes or clinical courses. You must have taken and passed the ATI TEAS exam with a proficient score. So a lot of students, once you get to this point and you're taking your Science 25, you're finishing up your class, you sign up for the TEAS exam, and you sign up for a date that you must take it. You must take it on a date that the nursing department dictates. So you won't have to worry about that now, but when you do that, you make sure you take it on the date that they actually want you to take it on, or else they won't accept your score. A lot of students come to me and ask me, or they'll go to George, how high of a score do I need on the TEAS exam to get into the program? And the truth of the matter is, we don't know that. We don't know that because it's based on the pool of students who take it at that time. and the mean of all the scores, it's a huge equation that we have no control over. What you really want to do is you want to make sure you're scoring a proficient score or above. Proficiency can be anywhere between like 59 to 100, depending on how many students take the test and everybody's score. When you score proficient, that means you pass. Now, at what level of proficiency, that's based on the score after that. So I usually say it's safe to say that if you score in the 70s on the test proficiently, and that's across the board, because the test is segmented into 3 sections: the English, the math and science, and what is it? It was English, math, and science. Sorry, English, math, and science. Sorry. So it's like a standardized test. Each one of those have a score. Each one of those sections you have to score proficient in. Then they combine all those scores to be one score, and if it's proficient, you pass the exam, or you pass high enough to go into our nursing program. If you score in the basic range, you still need work. So keep that in mind when you're taking the TEAS exam. The score only matters if you don't score proficient. And then, well, no, if you do score proficient, let's put it that way. Once you score proficient, then you're in the running. But again, somebody could score a higher proficiency than you, so keep that in mind as well. So again, just do the best you can with this test. You must complete all pre-programmed vaccinations and state registration processes. So once you get into the program, the nursing department sends you this letter, which a lot of people forget to read. They just see that, oh, congratulations, you got into the program, and then they forget to read everything else. And then it's like a week before orientation. And orientation, you have to have all of this vaccination, all these state registrations completed and insurance done before you go to orientation. Otherwise, they cannot assign you a clinical class. And if they don't assign you a clinical class, there's no way you can pass the semester. So if you do get into the program, make sure you read that letter as thoroughly as possible, because there are certain things that you have to do at certain periods, and you may not have a lot of time to do it. And I know a lot of students, while they're waiting to hear back from the nursing department, some of them go on vacation, some go home to their home country, and they don't even realize they got this email, and they're waiting to hear back. And then all of a sudden they open this email, maybe while they're in the midst of flying, at the airport, flying somewhere, and they're like, oh, I have to go into the doctor or go into this facility to get all this stuff done. I'm not gonna be back until 2 weeks before the class done. Am I gonna have enough time? We don't know. You're gonna have to make sure that you are ready to do all of that whenever you can. So just be aware of that before you make any plans to go anywhere. Must attend a nursing orientation before being placed in a clinical affiliation. So I just explained that. The nursing orientation is basically where the nursing department decides where they're going to send you for the semester, for the class. And then they also give you the class number and the section that you're supposed to be taking for that semester. Now you'll meet with them, you'll meet with us or me as an advisor, and I'll also give you any supplemental classes that you need to take along the way as well. So there are some co-requisites for some of the classes, but most of the times, if you get into the program, a lot of the times the students has already completed those courses. Upon successful completion of the onboarding process, students will be enrolled in a nursing course by the department. So a lot of the times the student contacts me and say, I tried to register for my nursing class and it won't let me register for my nursing class. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Don't worry about it. The nursing department will actually put you into that class. So in the first semester, you take nursing 17 and 18. They'll give you the section of 17 and 18 they want you to take. If there's any other courses that you need to take or want to take alongside those courses, then you'll come to us and we'll be able to help you kind of balance your schedule that way. Again, you may not have anything that you absolutely have to take, but we do offer some classes in the modules that we can suggest for you to take, or classes that we would refer to as nursing electives, where you might need to take those for your bachelor's degree later on. So if you get to that point and you're concerned about the classes that you need to take along with the nursing, make sure you do make an appointment to see your advisor, whoever is listed as your advisor. It's most likely going to be me, hopefully, because I do like to keep my job. It helps pay my bills. Sorry. The one thing I do want to remind you about, I actually mentioned, is another thing about the ATI test. Kingsborough allows students to take the ATI test twice. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't just randomly go and take the TEAS exam whenever you want to take it. But to get into the nursing program, you have to take it on the dates the nursing program decides for students to take it. And if you take it twice on any of those dates. So now you can only take it one time per application. So let's say you're applying for the spring semester and you're going to take the test in between December 22nd and January 8th. Those are the dates that the nursing department has chosen. You can take it one time between those dates. And then the next chance that you get to take it would be 6 months later in June, when they June or July, when they offer the test again and you do the application again. If you've taken it twice, that's the last time you can only take it twice. If you don't take it the first time and but you did register and you just didn't take it, that won't count against you. Only scores that you took for the nursing program on those dates will count. But if you went to CSI and took it, and you got a score at CSI, that doesn't count here at Kingsborough. It only counts if you take it on the dates for Kingsborough. So a lot of students come in from other schools saying, I already took the TEAS exam, I passed it. Do I need to take it over? Will they accept my score? They will not accept your score. Now, I don't know about other schools. Other schools may accept the score that you get here from Kingsborough, but Kingsborough will only accept scores from Kingsborough. So keep that in mind again with the TEAS exam. I know this is a lot of information, but this is why we're recording it. This is why we have the ability to send it out to you later. So keep that in mind again too. All right, so moving on. So important things you need to know. Your grades matter. And I know that sounds corny, but it's for real. Even if you take courses that you don't need to get into the nursing program, but you need to graduate from the nursing program, those grades will still matter. So let's say, well, for instance, you need sociology, you need the second anatomy and physiology, you need the second psychology and the second English, just to name a few of the classes that you need during the program. If you take those courses before you do your application and you do not do well in those courses, they will come back to haunt you. So if you need to retake those classes before you do your application, by all means do that so that you can at least get a passable grade. Again, average amount, they have to be at least a C or higher to be eligible. Because if you don't pass those classes, you will not get into the program. At the very least, you may be able to explain why you didn't get those grades, and they may give you a chance to stay eligible by retaking them. But if you just don't do nothing, you let those grades just chill out there, nah, they're gonna say, nope, I'm denying. You didn't even decide to do the work to do these classes, so why would I let you into the program? So keep that in mind. Other classes like art, speech and stuff like that, you don't need for our program, they don't care about those. However, they do affect your overall GPA. And in order to graduate from Kingsborough, your overall GPA, not just your nursing GPA, has to be at least a 2.0. And if you don't have a 2.0, you can't graduate from Kingsborough, period. So what you really want to do is you want to make sure you're staying on top of your academics the best you can, even in the program. You could be in the program and get passable grades for all your nursing classes, but it could take you below the 2.8 you need or the 2.0 you need. And that could really hurt your chances of graduating, and you don't want that to happen. So I know it sounds super difficult and very, disheartening, but trust me, I'm just giving you this information now so that you're prepared for it whenever the time comes. All right, so additional courses beyond the program, those are those electives that I was telling you about earlier. Just because you graduate from Kingsborough with a nursing degree doesn't mean you're done with your nursing degree, if that makes any sense. So it used to be that the field, all you needed to do was get an associate and you could work as a nurse. You can still do that today, but most places are switching the minimum degree requirement to having a bachelor's. So if you are planning on taking this associate's degree in nursing and going to work, you can still do that, but also plan on going back to school to do your bachelor's while you're working as a nurse. So the beautiful thing about this program, and which is why it's a very coveted program, is students who come here pay a very, very cheap price to get a very good degree and then go right to work. This is why the nursing program here at Kingsborough is so popular. Once they do so, they also would like them to go on to a bachelor's program. And the good thing about that is in most of the positions that you find after you graduate from here, most of those positions are offered to students while they're still students here. And it's because of their clinical phases. So you might go onto a clinical that you really, really love, and the people there really love you. And they say the first time they meet you and the last time they meet you before you finish the class, they say, listen, you finish this program, you have a job waiting for you right now. Like, I'm dead serious. It's happened to so many students here, and they literally finish the program a year later, and they go right back to that person and says, hey, I'm done with the program. Can I still get a job? And that person says, I've been waiting for you for a whole year. And boom, they get the job. And that's got to be a great feeling, because we know you probably have a lot of debt and you really want to start making some money. So that's why our program is great. After that is all said and done, you might be working in the nurse practitioner, or the hospital administrator might come in and say, listen, we love what you do. We want you to go further. We want to pay you more money, but you have to get a bachelor's degree. And you say, well, I don't know if I have time to do that. Think twice, because you do. They're actually going to pay you to go back to school and finish the rest of the classes that you need to get your bachelor's degree, which are literally only lecture classes, because you've already done your clinicals. So all you would have to do, and most of these programs, again, are online programs. So you don't have to quit your job. You can do it on your off hours, and you can still complete your degree. And it usually takes about a year to a year and a half, depending on where you go. With us, we have an articulation agreements with several different schools in the CUNY system and outside of the CUNY system, for students who graduate from our program to seamlessly transfer to those programs and continue their bachelor's degree. So once you're in the nursing program, make sure you reach out to me so we can talk about those schools and get you in the application process to move forward. The next thing I want to tell you is take the initiative and plan. Right now, you are in a very early phase. Even if you're in Science 25 right now, it's still pretty early. You want to start looking forward into what you need to do. That means you want to start reaching into some of the material that you want to start studying. Go and do some volunteer work with nurses to find out what the actual job is going to be like. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to touch patients and do all that stuff, but you want to kind of see what you're going to get yourself into. I can't stress this enough. Students have started the program, have gotten almost to the last semester and said, this is not for me. And they wasted all that time. Now they have to decide whether or not they want to give this up and go into something else, or stick it out and be in a position to start a career that they do not like. The way to get ahead of that is to take initiative and start planning ahead to really kind of experience that. Now, I know a lot of students are like, well, I want to be a nurse because I want to help people. I want to say, like, let me tell you, you can help people by being a Starbucks barista. People love coffee. People need coffee, and they need it every damn day. But if you think that you're going to jump into this career with the knowledge of everything that you need to know and then the strength to do it, that's not always the case. So be real with yourself and be real with the environment that you're going to be in. So start planning ahead for that. Also, start looking up, start studying medical knowledge, start studying all the different terminologies that you're going to need to know, because once you're in the program, it is extremely difficult to maintain everything that you need to do by going back and reviewing. In the program, they do not allow students to review their tests, their homework, any of that stuff. Once you turn it in, it belongs to the professor. And the professor will not regurgitate and reiterate stuff. You literally have to know it the first time you test, and then it's over, because you don't get a second chance to save a life sometime. And this actually translates to how you study and how you're learning to actually do the career that you want to do. So take that seriously. I don't say that to scare you. I just say that because you're in a position right now where you can make that decision ahead of time. So just keep that in mind. So take the initiative and plan ahead. If there's some other field that you're interested in along with nursing, nursing might be your first choice, but always have a backup plan. You have plenty of allied health majors here, plenty of other majors that can get you into a field that you would really love to be in. It doesn't necessarily have to be nursing right now, and you can later on in life come back and do nursing. So keep that in mind. All right, and that was my next slide, which was having a backup plan. So I kind of got ahead of myself. Sorry about that. The nurse, this is the, well, I guess you can kind of see the nursing webpage is where you can get a lot of the information about those other schools, about the program itself, you know, how rigorous it is. You can actually see the nursing student handbook there. So they go through a lot of the information that you're going to go through at orientation. You can get a jump start on that by going there. But once you get to the nursing webpage, in fact, let me put George, can you put the link to the nursing webpage in the chat? And the reason I say that, because a lot of students, when it comes to the application, some of you might not have filled out the application now. You're going to go to that application right after this meeting and do that, because I need y'all to start submitting. But when you get to that page, you'll see this is the chairperson, Bridget Weeks. And up here is the box where all your information is going to be housed. This plus sign, you're going to click it. It's going to expand the menu, and you're going to see the applications for both the preclinical phase and the clinical phase, and each have instructions. I strongly encourage you to read the instructions, because for those who are going for the clinical, you do have to go to the ATI website in order to sign up for the test, and they give you the links for all of that. Plus, they give you some important date information. The deadline for the clinical application is December 16th. Of this year, so this semester, December 16th. If your application isn't in by 5 p.m. on December 16th for the clinical, we cannot accept it unless you get express permission from the nursing department themselves that says we're going to take it. So keep that in mind. If you haven't filled out your application now, do so. Outside of, oh, here's a nursing website there. Sorry, but again, George clicked on and put that in the chat, right, George? Thank you. All right, let's see. On to the next slide, which is questions. So now we are open to do questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And again, I want to thank you guys for all sitting here and then listening to me ramble along about this degree. I hope what I said kind of permeated with you guys. And I hope I didn't scare off any of you guys, but I think you all have the potential to get into the program. Right now, I think there's 50-something students in this room. You all could get a seat in the program if you do the work. That's all you have to do. So right now, I'm going to open up to questions. So if you have questions, there's a feature down here on the reactions tab where you can raise your hand. And I see there's a lot of questions in the chat box. So
yeah, I've been trying to go through them as we've been going.
Great.
So yeah, there are a number that I haven't gotten to towards the end.
Okay.
But yeah, some of there were also a few people who were sending me some direct message questions.
Okay.
Some of which were more focused on like advisement kinds of questions. So one thing I would recommend for everybody is if you have specific questions about your specific situation, that is, what class should I take, when should I take it, that's a one-on-one conversation that you need to have with your academic advisor. If you don't know who your academic advisor is, you can look them up on CUNY First. You go to your student center on CUNY First and their name will be there. It may not be me or Ben. It may be one of our excellent colleagues, and they should be able to answer the kinds of questions, at least to get you into the preclinical. So that's definitely my recommendation, that would be your first stop for what class should I take and when should I take it and all that sort of stuff.
Right, definitely. Your current advisor should be able to definitely help you out with that, because that is a general advisor question. I do see a couple of questions that just popped up. Really good ones, actually. Somebody asked, what is the deadline for the TEAS registration? So the TEAS registration deadline is, you have all the way up until the last date that the nursing department gives. So this round for the TEAS, it's December 22nd is the first day of the test, and then June 8th is the last date of the test. So if you wait
January.
all the way until June, or excuse me, January, sorry, not June, January, we're gonna scrub that out of the recording. December 22nd to January 8th. On January 8th, if you wait till January 8th to sign up for a test and there are no more tests, you've missed it. Unless they add more tests that day. So make sure that you are, taking it within those parameters. But in order to do the TEAS exam, you must submit your application by December 16th. So December 16th is the application deadline. The TEAS deadline is the last day of the TEAS exam. So as long as there's a test date open, you can actually sign up for it. So that's one. And I have a question from Fafara. You want to come back to Kingsborough. You've already finished your prerequisite classes. You are in a pretty unique situation, but it's not impossible. One, you definitely want to make sure you submit your admissions application to readmit to Kingsborough. If I think since you already have a degree from Kingsborough, it would be a new student application. Yeah, so it would be a new student application.
Second degree.
Yeah, second degree. So you're applying for a second degree. What you want to make sure of is that you let them know that you're going to do nursing, because a lot of times they'll put you default in liberal arts, but you're probably going to have to select like bio, allied health, or something like that. Just pick a different degree. Once all that is all squared away, you can submit your application. So as long as you submit your admissions application, go ahead onto the Kingsborough website, nursing program, and go ahead and do your application for either the preclinical phase or the clinical phase. I'm assuming that you're going to do the preclinical phase because you probably still need to take the Science 25. So go ahead and do the preclinical application so that you can get permission to take Science 25. Once that's all said and done, you're going to sit with an advisor, and we're going to walk you through the process of registration again and get you into the right classes. You probably don't need to be a full-time student, given that you already have a degree. So we'll probably do our best to work around that situation. But you absolutely do have the ability to come back as soon as possible. So get on the admissions application as soon as you can. Let's see, the next question I see, should you apply for the clinical now, even if you decided to take the TEAS in June or July? So if you took the TEAS in June or July back then and you didn't get into the program, because either your score, you probably, if you pass the score and you don't need to take the TEAS again, you absolutely do need to do an application. If you do need to do the TEAS again for the second time, you absolutely do need to do an application. So when in doubt, always do an application.
Yeah, but I think that might be a part two, because there was a question earlier in the chat where someone asked if they were taking Science 25 now, but they wanted to take the TEAS next June 22. Do they put a clinical application now? Yeah,
then you don't need to put a clinical application in now. So if you're gonna hold out and wait and take it next June, then yeah, just don't put an application in. In fact, make sure that you are watching the dates for when the spring semester starts for the application to open, because once the deadline closes, they're going to close the applications and then they won't reopen it until the next period. So just keep that in mind. But you can definitely hold off on doing the TEAS if you don't feel like you're ready yet, or if you feel like you want to study some more, take some time to do that. That's not a problem. So definitely do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've known students who've pushed off their TEAS exams for various reasons. Sometimes it's studying, sometimes it's they've got personal things that are just getting a little too crazy, and they can't devote the time and energy to do it. I know this one guy. He's working full time. He's taking a lot of classes. He's got some personal challenges with his family. This is not the right time for him to take the TEAS,
right.
And he knows it. So he's pushing it off until another semester. So yeah, no shame.
Good. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, you may find yourself in a position where you have to do that, but you should definitely make sure you speak to your advisor regarding that. It won't necessarily hurt your chances of getting into the program. It'll just prolong how long it takes for you to get into the program. So just you can't do the nursing program if you're not ready to take the test to get into the nursing program. Don't hurt yourself by doing it if you're not ready to do it. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Looks like I have another pretty interesting question here. If you haven't completed classes now, that are needed to apply, should you still apply now or wait till you complete the classes? All right, so I'm glad you asked that. If you're currently taking any of the prerequisites or all of the prerequisites, and you're going to be done with them at the end of this semester, meaning that you're going to finish your Bio 11, your English 12, and your Psych 11 by the end of this semester, you should absolutely apply for the preclinical phase. You can apply while you're still taking those classes. You just, like everyone else, you won't actually hear back from the program until the semester is over. So it doesn't matter if you finished them already or if you're still taking them right now. As long as you're going to be done by the end of this semester, you can still submit an application. And that application will go to the department. They'll wait till the semester's over. They'll wait till all the grades are calculated. And then they'll let you know when you can move forward to take the Science 25 class. Same thing with the clinical application. If you're taking Science 25 right now, which is the normal, you definitely have to submit your application before the deadline, which is December 16th. So if you're doing any of that, make sure you submit an application. Don't worry about it if you aren't, or if you're unsure. I'll look at it, George will look at it, and we'll see whether or not you should have submitted an application. We'll be able to stop it before it gets to the nursing program if you shouldn't have submitted it. So in the worst case scenario, just submit it. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask person? Yeah.
George, do you know where you left off on the questions? Maybe you could read them to Ben, or are we up to date on the questions?
Oh, we got some questions.
Yeah, Ben had caught where I had left off, but there are a few others afterwards, and then we've got some hands here. So,
All right.
how do you
Let's
want to
go with some hands. So I think the first one was this phone number, right? The 954 phone number. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, that's me. Sorry, Ashley. I was wondering how long do you think the entire process would take for it to be completed, and then up to the point of NCLEX?
Ooh, NCLEX. So generally you take NCLEX within 6 months of finishing the program, depending on if you have to take it more than once. So if we're talking about from start to finish, roughly 3 years for the degree and another 6 months at most for the NCLEX. But the 6 months is inclusive of, let's say you graduate in June, then within that 6 months, you want to pass the NCLEX so that you can start your bachelor's program if you need to, or you can start going to work, because you can't work without the license or have taken NCLEX, and a lot of that rule applies to moving forward into your bachelor's degree. Some bachelor's programs just require you to take the NCLEX, whether you pass or fail, and then they require you to pass it within the first semester of being a part of that program. So that's hopefully that answers the question for you. So think about it at 3 years, 3 years and 6 months, basically.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem. The next question is from Nadia.
Hello, yes, thank you. Yes, my question is whether I can I still have an option, push my TEAS exam and clinical application to the next semester, to June. I already applied for clinical and registered for TEAS. And now after this info session, I'm debating whether I should take TEAS in June.
So if you feel like you want to withdraw your application, you absolutely can do that. And you can actually withdraw your application or registration to take the TEAS as well. I don't know what the process of refund or anything like that, but you'd have to do that through the ATI website. So you can definitely do that. Just alert the nursing department that you plan on doing so. Again, you still have some time to do that. You haven't selected a date to actually take the TEAS yet, because I don't think they're up yet. So you do still have some time to make that decision. If you don't feel 100% comfortable in doing the test yet, especially if you've already taken it, and this would be your last attempt at doing so, it makes sense that you might want to push it off. But I'm gonna say this: don't push it off too long. The reason I say that is because the longer you wait to take the exam, the exam is not going to get any easier or any less challenging. So just make sure you prepare yourself as best you can before you take the exam again. Just because you don't get into our nursing program doesn't mean you can't get into another nursing program somewhere else. So when in doubt, maybe give yourself a little bit of credit, and you might be able to actually do well on the exam. So, but you do still have the option to kind of push it off until June. So I hope that answers the question.
We also
Thank you.
offer the tutoring for Science 25 and for the Ts, right?
Yeah, we do offer that. There's Teams workshops through our tutoring center and supplemental instructions through the Science 25 class as well. Take advantage of all that. It's free to students. You might as well. Doesn't hurt to get a little extra study and help. And there's also private facilitators that will do practice testing for the Ts and practice tutoring for the Ts. So make sure you utilize whatever you need to utilize to study for this exam, especially if you've done so well, done all the hard work to get to that point. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself a little extra step to step on whenever you're taking this test, all right?
We have a number of questions in the chat about the times of clinical classes and when they meet. And typically, the nursing 18 class, it meets 3 times a week, lecture, lab, and then a day in the hospital. The hospital shift is usually during the day from scheduled on CUNY first from 8 to about 3 or so, and then the lectures and the labs are scheduled. I think it's usually around 2 or 3 hours each on the other days. But the nursing department will assign you to which section of clinical if you are admitted to the clinical program that you're going to go into. So yeah, it's intense. It's a very long. This is one of the reasons why we always suggest you take like the Bio 12s and all those other classes ahead of time, because when you are in those clinical classes, you're not going to have much time for anything else. And so like if you're taking that nursing 18 class, you're in the hospital from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, you still need to do Bio 12. That's going to be it. You're going to have to do that at night, which means you could be coming back to campus from 6 to 10 for the bio lab. So you could be going from 8 in the morning to 10 at night. That's a long day. It's not great. So yeah, the clinical classes are intense. You really, if you do get into the clinical nursing program, you want to make sure that you're not overloading yourself and you're spending the time you can on it. That's basically your job.
Correct. I did get an interesting question in the chat regarding international students who someone asked if they should apply for their F1 visa. I believe that's what they're talking about, the F1. Absolutely, apply for any type of paperwork that you need to in order to, 1, be in school here, and 2, work here. You do have to be a citizen to be registered, to be able to work as a nurse here, but having your application in the process will help you when you're getting through the program, especially when you're applying for the tests and everything, because you're going to need to show proof that you are able, or at least in the process of going through the process of being legally able to work here. Because you can get your degree, but you couldn't get your license, and that could be a detriment at the end of the day. So definitely make sure you do that. Let's go with Melissa Morgan.
Hi, I wanted to know, Mr. George was saying the clinicals will be from 8 to 10 at night. Is that what he's saying to everybody?
No, that's no. The clinical, the hospital shift is scheduled on CUNY first from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon.
Right.
If you haven't done Bio 12, because for nursing 18, Bio 12 is a co-requisite, meaning you either have to do it before you do nursing 18 or at the same time. And if you do it at the same time,
oh, it's loading it up. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So yeah, the actual hospital shift, no, they're not going to have you there for 14 hours. They'll have you there from 8 in the morning to like 3. But then you don't want to put another class on top of that. Is what
I understand that. And my other question would be, when you're doing your clinicals, do you get to pick the hospital, or is you guys pick the hospital for us? Like say for instance, if we live in Queens, would we be able to go to a hospital in Queens or we have to
So,
Brooklyn?
so the nursing department does select the facilities that you do go to.
Mhm.
They try not to make it inconvenient for you though. So
Okay.
it all depends on where they have the articulation agreement or the affiliation agreement with.
Mhm.
They'll do as best they can to place you in a place that is not inconvenient. A lot of the times, what they've done is they'll look at your course schedule and they'll say, okay, well, you're going to be on campus this day, and this facility is close to campus, so you can get from campus to that facility, and then you just go home after that.
Okay.
So, and then if you tell them, okay, well, this is my other, they'll try to work with you the best that they can. So try not to worry about that too much. Just be ready and willing to go where they can send you. But they're gonna try to work with you as best they can.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Let's see. Rona.
Hi, my question is, once you're in the nursing program, how long after can you take the NCLEX for the LPN?
Oh. So if you're in the nursing program, meaning like once you completed the nursing program, right?
No, because I thought they said that once you're doing the RN, after a certain time, you can take the NCLEX for the LPN.
So after the first two classes, I want to say you can actually take the LPN, although that's only if you really want to just go to work as an LPN. You can do the LPN before you get into the program. I think as long as you pass the test, you can do LPN.
And if you already are an LPN, you can test out of nursing 17 and 18.
Yeah.
So those are the equivalent courses, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you have an LPN already, you may be able to ask for a waiver of the first two nursing courses. But if you want to get an LPN beforehand, you absolutely can do that. The rest of the program would just be, I mean, it just depends on what you honestly want to do. I don't suggest you work as an LPN while you're in the program because that's going to be a lot of work. But if you need to, like, then that's a personal situation. So you can definitely navigate through that, but I don't necessarily recommend it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Cedrica.
I want to know, when we get in the program, do we pick the classes or y'all pick the classes for us? And do we have to be full-time or we could do part-time too?
So once you're actually in the nursing program, like the actual clinical phase, you can be full-time if you need to be. But like I said, most of the time students will have already completed the majority of classes that are not nursing classes that you need for the program. So most of the time you'll end up being part-time, which is fine. As for picking your classes, what the nursing department does during orientation, they'll ask you, what are your preferences for times for classes? And then they'll try to match the sections of the classes as best they can to your preference of time. So if you say, well, I need to be done by 3:30, then most likely they'll give you morning classes and morning clinicals to try to get you out of here on time. If you don't give them any preference, they'll give you anything. So, but I will tell you this, there are no evening classes in the nursing program once you're in the clinical phase. So anything that's an NUR class, like a nurse NUR 18, NUR 21, those are all gonna be during the day. So if you have stipulations, like if you have a job, you may have to either work with your job to give up some time during that time when you're taking classes, or you might have to quit your job altogether. To be honest, once you're in the nursing program, it's like having a full-time job anyway, because when you're not in class, guess what you're doing? Studying. And when you're not studying, guess what you're probably doing? Either sleeping, eating, or in class. And actually, you might be sleeping and eating at the same time you're studying. And I'm not gonna lie, there have been people who slept on their books trying to get osmosis to happen, or playing like notes in their headphones while they're sleeping. And I'm not gonna, it happens. And so they do study hard.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
from the surgical tech folks, I know this isn't nursing, but I do remember some surgical tech students talking about how they were doing their clinicals. They were, working hard, they were studying hard. And what did they do for fun? they went on YouTube and watched surgery videos. So, you know, it's something that is going to be pretty all consuming. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a really interesting question. If you drop a class, does it affect your preclinical? So dropping classes, actually, that's a funny thing. So they don't necessarily affect you getting into preclinical or clinical, unless you've gotten a grade of like a WU, which effectively means you just didn't go to class. And even though you like attempted it, you just unofficially withdrew. It used to count as an F, but I don't think it counts as an F any longer. However, it does still look bad. So you would have to take that over. But if for some reason, like let's say you withdrew from a class properly, so you get a W, that does not affect your GPA. And because it doesn't affect your GPA, it should not affect your ability to get into the program. It only affects if it's a class that you needed for that semester in order to submit your application. So if it's like Bio 11, or if it's English 12 or Psych 11, and you withdrew from that class and you submitted an application, we'll deny that application until you finish that class in the next semester or whatever, and then you can resubmit your application. Sometimes you will have to submit an appeals letter to the department depending on why you had to withdraw from class, just so that you inform them as to why you had to drop the class. So I hope that answers your question a little bit, but just dropping a class doesn't necessarily hurt your chances unless you actually got a grade that you needed for that class, or if it was a class that you needed to get into the nursing program. So just keep that in mind. Another fun question was, how many classes do you have each semester during the nursing program? Anywhere, so the first, let's see, the first fall semester is, you have 2 mandatory classes. The second spring semester, or the second semester in the nursing program, there's 1 mandatory class. The third semester, there's 2. And then the fourth semester, there's 3. So anywhere between 1 and 3 classes per semester, depending on the semester you're in. Now, those are the classes that you have to take. Like, no matter what, you have to take those classes. If you haven't completed some of the co-requisites, you'll have to take those in between the semesters, and you have to complete those before they'll let you register for the next semester. So, example, your first nursing semester, nursing 17 and 18, and then your second nursing semester is nursing 2100. If you don't pass Bio 5100 before that or in between that, then you have to do that class before they'll let you register for nursing 21. So we usually walk you through those classes before you get into the program. And again, those are the classes that we usually recommend you take before you start the programs, because you probably need those to be either full-time or you're just waiting to hear back from the nursing program. So we try to make sure we get all that taken care of before you actually get into the program. Marcel Castro.
Hello, yes, good afternoon. This is gonna be quick because my class starts right now, but I was wondering if you guys are on campus throughout the week, or if I could get your guys' emails so I can reach out to you guys for a personal question, if that's okay.
Sure. I'm gonna put my email in the chat box right now. I know a lot of you are gonna bombard me, and I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. Now, a lot of the questions I may send, like I may be able to give you some quick answers, but for the most point, you should be able to reach out to your advisor for a lot of these general questions. So if I don't answer them right away, definitely make sure you write to your advisor as well. So my email is in the chat. It's benjamin.stewart@kbcc.cuny.edu. You can definitely send me some messages, or if you have a quick question, no problem. But again, if you know who your actual advisor is, reach out to them first. But most of the questions you're probably going to ask me are actually specific to something that you need. So I understand that. And also, you can use this Zoom to come back if you truly need some help and you can't get the answer that you need at the time, especially when the deadline's starting to come through. Come back to the Zoom. We'll try to do our best to help you out. We usually have walk-ins on Friday, at least I do on Friday. And those are the days that we usually can take students who are not necessarily in our cohort and whatnot. So if you your best day to come to the Zoom, if you're not a part of our academy, would be a Friday, okay? Let's see.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What time on Fridays about?
So
Anytime?
I usually do anywhere between 10 and 3:30 p.m.
All right, no problem. And I just joined the same meeting, right?
Yes,
Yep.
this is the Health Science and STEM Academy's regular Zoom. We just put everybody in the conference room for today, but we all have our own individual Zoom rooms where we can talk with folks. We are doing some stuff on campus, but we're really not set up to do appointments in our offices right now. We're still primarily doing things through the Zoom. I mean, if you walk into my office on a day that I'm there, I'm not going to say go away, but yeah, we're still, the best way to get us is through this Zoom or through email or whatnot.
Right.
Also-
Go ahead.
If Ben, or there's also George, and really many of us in the academy can help you with your questions. But again, as both Ben and George mentioned, you use your advisor, the one you have, as they also know the basics. It's only when it gets a little more elaborate, we're certainly welcome to help, to contact us.
But especially because I get inundated a lot during the semester with a lot of things, because this is not the only major I have to deal with. So sometimes I get, overwhelmed with a lot of the emails, but also I go on vacation and I do get sick. So sometimes I'm not here, despite what some people believe, but I do get sick. And before I get to Farah's question, there was a really important question in the chat about financial aid. Somebody asked, how do you keep your financial aid during the nursing program if you aren't a full-time student? So let's put it this way. The financial aid, there's two types of financial aid, at least the two types that most people have during here. There's your Pell Grant, which is your federal grant, and then there's something called TAP. So your Pell Grant is through the federal government, and if you qualify for your Pell Grant, that means all you need to have is 12 credits on your schedule to get your Pell Grant. And usually that covers, whatever it is that you qualify for. And then you can go to school with that Pell Grant. Your TAP, however, requires you to have 12 credits within the major you're listed. So nursing credits only credits about to anywhere between 9 to 11 credits per semester, which means 3 or 1 credit you're going to need to find somewhere else to get your TAP. But since there are no other classes since you may have already taken several courses you need to get that TAP, you won't be able to get your TAP. However, Pell usually covers enough to pay your tuition up to the amount of credits that you're going to take. So if your first semester, I believe nursing 17 to 18, that gives you a total of 9 credits, I want to say.
It's 8.
It's 8 credits?
Yeah, 18 is 7. So
got you. So 8 credits in your first semester. So that means you need 4 more credits somewhere to get your full Pell. That's where we offer your the nursing electives. Those nursing electives are courses that we try to get you to take, that we and we don't insist that you take, but we definitely strongly advise that you take for when you go for your bachelor's program later on. So you either take those in the module, like the winter semester or the summer semester, or you can take those in free time, whatever the free time it is that you have during the semester. And you should be able to qualify for the maximum amount of your Pell dispersal. But your TAP, you probably wouldn't get. Now, if you don't get your TAP and you do qualify for TAP, that doesn't mean that you miss out on TAP. That just means that you don't get TAP that particular semester. Later on down the road, you may be able to get TAP with another course later on down the road if you get 12 credits in your major. Or you'll graduate from us, you'll go to your bachelor's degree, and you'll be able to get the rest of your TAP there. So plan ahead when that comes to your finances as well, because you may have to come out of pocket for something, or you may have to get a loan, or whatever it is that you might have to do in order to survive in the nursing program. But right now, I do strongly suggest that you start thinking about saving up some money so that if you have to buy something that your Pell doesn't, doesn't cover, you can have that little windfall later on. Or, look into doing small educational loans to help you get to the program. There are also scholarships you can choose from as well. Some of them require minimum work. Some of them require you to write a whole essay or a paper or do some volunteer work or whatever it might be. But you definitely could finance getting to the nursing program without having a Pell, but it does get a little bit more difficult if you don't have your financial aid or some sort of financial support. So again, I hope that answers the question, and I hope it didn't scare you away, but definitely make sure that you have that conversation, especially with your financial aid advisor, okay? And
I have a
Farah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Sarah. Is it possible to get advised privately, even if I'm not a Kingsborough student? Because I want to return to Kingsborough, but I'm not yet in Kingsborough. I'm in another CUNY school, 4-year school.
Yeah, so I actually got your email today, and I'm actually in the midst of writing you back, but I just got busy with all this other stuff today.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely get a private advisement appointment, and what I'll do is I'll respond to your email and we'll set something up. So don't worry about that. Is that okay? Farah, are you there?
I gather Farah's good. I just want to mention that Ben mentioned Plan B, and it is very important for you to think about what will I do if I do not get into the nursing program. And when they say one door opens, another door opens, one door closes, another door opens, we will help you to find out, but you need to do some research, but we will help you find out whether perhaps you should go straight for your bachelor's degree, perhaps what alternative allied health majors we offer or other schools offer that you might find gratifying as much as nursing might have been for you. Ben mentioned you might be able to repeat a class or you could drop a class, but every little thing when you go for nursing, they look at. So if we're equal in T's and in GPA, but you've dropped classes and I haven't, that's what they're going to use to have to make that decision of taking those 80 out of those 200. So you should be very methodical about what you do. Really think about what you're going to do. Talk to your advisor before you do it. But a plan B, just in case, that would work for you is a very good idea.
And I want to add on to that. Yeah, Plan B is super important because it is very, very competitive. And I always say that I talk to a lot of students and they haven't really thought of what their Plan B is. And as Ben had said, B's are good. C's you're gonna really struggle to get into the program. And a lot of students I see who they don't have the best grades and they haven't really thought about that Plan B. One thing that I would also want to add is you want to be a little introspective and a little honest with yourself about why you are looking to do the nursing program. There are plenty of people. I talk to students every day and they're going for all sorts of degrees, and it's not because they're like really called to do this kind of thing, but it's because they think it's a good job or they feel like it's something that would make their family happy, or it's some sort of external thing. And those are certainly very valid reasons, but you also have to think about this is an intense process. It's gonna be very demanding, and when you graduate, if you are successful and you become a registered nurse, you're going to be doing a very, very intense job. Nurses work 12-hour shifts, and they're on their feet all day, and they're dealing with a lot of crazy stuff. So it's you kind of want to not only think about what do I need to do to get into the program, but is this the kind of thing that I really want to do? Am I doing this because intrinsically I can't see myself doing something else, or I really want to do this, or I want to, go into this, or is there something else that I might want to do? And whichever answer you land on, is totally fine. You just have to have that honest conversation with yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ashley, I believe it was.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, the other Ashley.
The one on the phone.
Hi.
Hi.
So always a lot of Ashley.
Sorry. You have your hand up, I'm sorry.
I had a question. Oh gosh, I think I forgot.
Oh, well. I mean, if you.
It was along the lines of LPN. Do you guys offer that?
So we don't have an LPN program at Kingsborough, like as a degree, and I don't think we have one as a certificate either. We do have. We do.
We have CNA and continuing
CNA, that's what it is. CNA and continuing ed. That's not a part of not technically a part of Kingsborough. It's a program that is adjacent to Kingsborough. So you could do that. You could do that certificate, but again, that's not necessarily a degree. You don't necessarily have to, go through the rigmarole as you do with nursing.
Okay. And I remember another question. If next semester, there's like a high percentage of classes in person, are you still able to take the 2500 class online?
So they do have one section online. If
but only one.
But only one. So if you need to take it online, it's first come, first serve, obviously. So I can't guarantee that you would get it, but we do offer one section of it online.
Yeah, and that brings up another point. So Science 25 registration, a lot of times, if you put in your preclinical application right now, the nursing department's going to hold on to that until for a couple of weeks until the grades are in and they get a chance to meet. So a lot of times students think, well, what if Science 25 closes out now while I'm waiting for the preclinical application? But everybody else is waiting for the same thing you're waiting for. So it's not going to close now. In January, when they make the decisions, that's when everybody's who's gotten in is going to be able to register for it. And that's when it's going to be a mad dash. And that's when, if you really need that one, you need to be, that online section, you need to register like the second you get that letter. So, yeah.
And to that point, everybody has to be ready to wait. You're going to have to wait. It's not like you put in the application, your grades come in and you get the answer. As I think it was mentioned, you get your grades in early December, you're not going to find out until January. And it could be what, mid-January?
Yeah, it could be mid to late January, but your orientation is literally 2 weeks before the start of the semester. So if you get accepted this coming round, your orientation is probably going to be somewhere in February 20th or February 18th or something like that, like 2 weeks before we start our March semester, because March semester starts on the 5th, I believe. Yeah, 5th. March 5th is the first day of classes for the spring semester. So 2 weeks before that is definitely going to be an orientation. So just be ready with all that paperwork if you get accepted.
Would you also recommend, Ben, that they register for their liberal arts classes? Just in case you don't get in, you don't want to wait until that last minute to say, oh, wait a minute, well, I'll finish my liberal arts degree or I'll go for something else. Put classes in, register. Not it won't be nursing classes, but it will be all of those, as we've said, the Bio 12, the Psych 32, things like that, or the rest of what you need for your liberal arts degree, so you could walk out of here at least with that you've achieved your associate's degree.
Right, and then on top of that, you have to, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna leave that. I'm not even gonna go there because that might be a little confusing. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
It's 4:31. So how about like the two hands up?
Yeah, two more questions and then we're gonna
wrap it up.
unfortunately close it out, but again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us later. So Ashley Hackett and then Sajid.
Hi. So I also wanted to know about your CNA courses because I'd like to get some experiences to kind of see if the nursing is 100% for me.
Oh, okay. So the CNA program, I don't have a lot of information on the CNA program, but I can direct you to the continuing education about that information. They give you all the information for free, so you don't have to worry about all that stuff. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And then lastly, so I'm already enrolled in Kingsborough, and after this semester, I'll be graduating with an associate's degree. But I also have thank you, courses that I took that were for the nursing program. So if I do apply, will those courses or credits be applied to the nursing itself? Or
yeah, as long as they're college credit courses that you've taken here and you've gotten the grade that you need for them to be accepted, we'll accept those classes. The only time that we don't accept classes for credit here is one, if they're not from the accredited institution, or two, if the grade that you needed was not a satisfactory grade, and three, if in the case of your science classes, like your bios, if they're older than 10 years, then we won't accept them. You'll have to retake them. So for some students, that's actually a godsend, because then you could say, oh, I didn't do very well in this class, but I took it in 1990 something. And we'll be like, well, we won't take that credit anyway. And then they'll retake it. And that's all.
An A.
Yep, they get an A, and then like, okay, well, we'll take that one since it's an A anyway. So you might get lucky if you're one of those people in that situation. So hopefully that answers the question. And I'm going to give you the website for the continuing education. I'll put that in the chat for you. All right.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And then Cedrica.
Does CNA credit counts or no?
CNA credits do not count because it is just a certificate. It is not, it's rudimentary. You don't have to have a background in or any knowledge in anatomy and physiology to get a CNA. So those credits would not count.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So that is our time for today. I'm sorry, Marilyn, I didn't get to you, but you can definitely email me if you have any other questions. And I want to thank you all for coming to the presentation today. I know it was a lot of information. I know some of it is very difficult to hear, but you heard it early enough to start planning ahead. So make sure you do everything you possibly can to really get to where you want to go. And like George said, really take the time to think about whether or not this is the right move for you. And what is a backup plan? There's always a backup plan. I didn't know I was going to be an academic advisor when I was in school. I went to school for music.
I was going to be a playwright.
Yeah. I was going to be a musician or a cartoonist. That was it. So now, look at me now.
Yeah.
So thank you guys all for attending. I really appreciate this. Again, I look forward to hearing from you all, and good luck. I hope that you all do make it into your nursing path. So if you can be a hero to save a life, this is a great place to do it. So thank you guys again for coming.